And do you believe that, rest is not just empty time, but that rest actually has an active purpose in your life? Because it does. And being able to believe and understand that is going to be very important for being able to come to the place where you allow yourself to truly rest. That's one of the things the Heavenly Father taught me in this journey as we went through this journey of rest. Let me tell you a little bit more about that. I had come out of a very busy and trying season over multiple years, walking through something that I was having to research and understand, in addition to managing life in all aspects. And as I came out of that, one of the things that the Lord was showing me is now this is a year for rest. So I was very surprised, as I mentioned before, the whole year. Wow, that's a lot of resting. What he wanted me to do, though, was to understand what rest really looks like, what it really means to rest, and then take on that mindset of rest. Let me walk you through my year. It started out, I was going to take on no new writing projects, no new publishing, no speaking events, no self-publishing, no self-promotion. All of it was off the table. I could still work in the job that needed to get done. I could still take care of my children, get them to school, those things that are essential. Those didn't stop. But what I did do is I made sure that I set limits for myself. I said, I will not push any rocks uphill. You think about that. You may have this new project at work. You may have a new outgoing or ongoing with your life, whether that's with children or grandchildren or projects. I said, no new rocks, right? What we have going to be able to take the necessary steps, those can continue. And I found that by February, started in January, by February, I was failing miserably in my rest. What I realized is that I didn't know how to rest. So here God was saying, you're going to rest for a year. But by February, I had to hit my knees and say, God, I don't know what I'm doing. Which is it's a hard thing to say when you're a producer, right? Because you want to always feel like you know what you're doing. I had to come and just lay it out and say, God, you told me to rest and I'm failing. I do not know what I'm doing. Teach me how to rest. And so I started unloading projects. I started unloading initiatives. I continued to look across my life and use a word. That word is simplify. And simplify and say, okay, what shouldn't be here if I'm resting? I learned how to meal prep so that it was all done on one day, so that the rest of the week I could just put things in the oven or take things out and eat them or serve them. Those kinds of things fit into what does that look like, so that I wasn't actively producing and being productive. And as I grew more and more into that over the year, he showed me what it meant to rest. I picked up reading. Here I was a writer, but I almost never read because I was always producing. And reading, unless it was for educational purposes, seemed like it wasn't productive. I picked up fiction books. I picked up books just for the sake of wanting to read them. And that was new for me. I took the kids out on a history road trip for 3 weeks, and we went to DC and New York City, saw the Statue of Liberty, and Boston and Niagara Falls on the way back through, and just spent time being present with them, not with an agenda. It was truly becoming this experience that I had not experienced before, this experience of rest. Along the journey, I got to May and I realized I was still doing a couple of things that I should not have been picking up. And so I contacted the leaders of those initiatives. And I said, I'm supposed to be in a rest here right now, and I'm really sorry. I'm going to hand off all of the work that I've done for you and give it to you, and then I'm going to step away. And they didn't understand. They thought that I was maybe no longer interested or didn't want to support them. And I had to have, meetings later and try to explain to them, no, this is really something God told me to do. I need to rest. And we were able to reform and rebuild and reconnect. And they came to an understanding. So sometimes when you rest, the people around you may not understand, but it's not for them to have to understand. We're living in a society where we're under so much pressure to people please, and that's not what God calls us to. He says that everything we do, we must do for his glory and unto him and not unto men. So as you rest, even rest unto him. I spent more time in worship. I spent more time in the Word and in prayer and in books that just filled me more to be able to dive in and be closer to Him. And through that, around July, I was truly resting. August, truly resting. And then September came, and something came to me and said, hey, can you step in on this? I was like, oh no, I'm supposed to be resting. I should say no. But I sought the Lord, and what He showed me, He's like, this rest is not legalistic. This is for you to learn so you can grow. And as I came in on a bell curve, He was going to take me out on a bell curve. As of January 1, January 2 hit, I was free to just produce again. But until then, it was a nice slow bell curve. And He had me in relationship building through all of it. That's something that's beautiful, is that building relationships can be part of your rest time. As long as that's not something as you see as that productive must do, but cultivating relationships, that's a beautiful thing that God calls us to. So as I came out of my bell curve, I hit the ground running January 3rd, and I was already on meetings with AI teams to start the next promotion, to get the new book out in May that had been waiting for a whole year. But what God has shown me, though, is that even now that I'm out of rest year, doesn't mean that rest stops. But now that I've learned and I've cultivated the ability to do that, I can leverage that in my approach of life and insert periods of rest each week and across the rest of my life, because I've now learned how to do that. So when it comes to managing your rest, managing your stress, they are at two ends of the spectrum, but they go hand in hand to really have that beautiful, healthy life that God calls us to. And so you can learn more, again, on my website, and feel free to follow as we continue to grow in the healthy lifestyle approaches.